Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. Today is Wednesday and it's 12 o'clock noon. And I tell you, we're going to have a very interesting show for you today. This is the Noon Report, and I am your host, Dr. Ron. Well, I'm one of the hosts. Let me just say that because we've got a whole slew of hosts coming on today, and I'm looking forward to having some company at 12 noon today. So let me get started. Let me get my announcements out of the way. The first thing I like to do on every broadcast that I do is give a shout out to my mentor. My mentor, Dr. Hunt, have been with me for 30 plus years. And out of those 30 plus years, he has been a blessing to both me and my family, as well as I have been a blessing to both he and his family. And the reason why I talk about Dr. Hunt and mentors is because I'm trying to encourage you to get a mentor, someone that you can go to that can help you when you're having situations and circumstances that you don't know how to navigate through. Mentors can help you. Okay. And once you get a mentor and you've been a blessing to him and he's been a blessing to you, then you can get a show. And once you get a show, then you can shout them out. So, as a surprise host for today, I'm bringing in my brother in broadcasting who has not shared airwaves with me in quite a while, but surprise! What's up,
How
my brother?
how long has it been? Come to think of it.
Man, since November of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were an item for those that don't know, and those that do know. We were an item every Thursday night. And I promise you, people went through withdrawal after we were not on the air anymore because I was getting
They
phone
did.
calls, texts.
Really?
What happened to the show? Y'all coming
Oh
back?
man.
Yeah, and I was like, no, everybody got a life now, so ain't nobody coming back. We all got things to do, you
Well,
know.
you know what? There was a couple weeks where I was the only one ready to go
Yeah,
at when the show started, and I'm like, now I didn't know why to just think to just go ahead and do it, by myself. But I was like,
yeah,
well,
you
ain't nobody
could
gonna
have.
show up. Then I guess
Right.
we ain't gonna have no show tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about, and I know you can relate, Street News Now is our network. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why I felt compelled to start the Noon Report because it keeps some type of programming going on the network. No matter what else is going on in different time slots, different programming, um, I'm here, and unless, of course, my internet goes out or my power goes off, then I can't do it. But outside of that, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be here. I'm devoted to this time slot. And I'm glad you dropped in because you are truly my brother and I love you. Many people may not know that. I mean, we have some on air antics, but
Uh,
that's what it's all about,
it's just on the air, and a lot of
Exactly.
people don't quite understand that or whatever. But
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
this is entertainment. You know what I mean? Because we
Exactly.
talk off
Exactly.
the air, and everything's normal, and like
Right.
like friends, like brothers do.
Right.
And but we get on the air. You know what? Sometimes we're gonna battle it out, and that's okay
Right. And
because it's
as to
entertaining.
that point off the air, when I was on tour last year and we came to Atlanta, I called my brother up and he came to the show
I
and had a
sure did.
great
I
time.
sure did. And you thought I was gonna show up, right?
I did. I told Lee, I said he ain't
You're
gonna
like, oh,
come.
that
I'm
nigga
gonna
ain't coming.
invite
No.
him and he gonna be like somewhere, doing something, doing
And I
somebody,
showed up.
doing somebody. And he showed up true to form. Who's that lady
Uh-huh.
over there? I don't know her.
Yeah. I showed up looking good, ready to catch, and caught nothing but air. Oh,
Hey,
damn it.
but you know what? It was a networking opportunity, and there was some people there. I said, "Hey, man, you want to meet this person, that person?" He was like, "Nope, I don't need to know him." But
Oh, you know what? Hey, I didn't. Did I? Oh, yeah, I did. I shared it with you,
mhm,
but with the audience, I got a chance to be on Sirius XM for the first time
wow,
last week or week and a half ago.
uh
I
huh,
was filling in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I normally produce his show, And he's just, I mean, he's one of these brothers that's just out of this world. He's got 2 PhDs, 3 masters. He's a physicist, but college professor. But I mean, on the air, I mean, he's just really just mind-blowingly smart. And he called me and said, "I'm not gonna be able to record today. Can you fill in for me?" I was like, "Me?" I'm looking around like he's talking to somebody else. Right? We're on the phone. I was like, "Are you sure I can?" I didn't know whether or not I could be able to pull it off. You know?
Uh-huh.
That's like filling in for Einstein.
Yeah. Well, I
And
listened to the show. I listened to the entire show. You did a great job.
it
I was
was it was
proud. I
hard.
was
I
proud of you.
appreciate
If
it.
I can say that without you getting offended, I was very proud of you.
Just
I
like you said,
said, "Look
I
at
was real
boy."
surprised you pulled it off.
I was like, look, he was paying attention when we were doing that show, Six Guys and You. He had commentary and everything.
Yeah, it was challenging. I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Well,
You know.
and to that, people don't understand. Some people may not understand that your background is mostly music. So to be able to go from music to talk and commentary, it's a little different. It's a
It
lot
really
different.
is.
Sometimes you
It
got to
really
know
is.
how to, make things flow.
Right.
You know. And that being said, the first thing I want to start the show off with today, we lost a legend on yesterday, Mr. Harry
Dale.
Belafonte. He
Dale.
was a civil rights activist. He was
Daylight's
from the
coming,
Bahamas,
we wanna go
and
home.
he was a very talented brother. He got to Hollywood and they pegged him as a pretty boy.
And
And
he
he
was pretty.
and I was just gonna say he lived up to
He
all
was
of that
pretty.
and
Yeah.
some,
Yeah. He made Billy D. Williams look bad,
Well,
I
he
guess.
was before Billy D. You
Oh,
know,
right. That's true. Yeah.
yeah. So
He was
because there
before
was,
everybody.
because there was a Harry Belafonte, there was a Billy D.
Right.
So there were many black and white movies that he starred in. Very talented brother. And could sing.
Yeah.
So we
Hey,
lost
let me
him.
tell you, my mom is 94, right? And she's here
Hmm.
now in Atlanta. So I see her every day. I'm going to go see her as soon as I leave here. Um, but that was her era, and she's
Right.
for her to be 94, and this is somebody from her era. That's a long time ago.
Yep,
Okay,
96. He was 96 years old.
96 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
And
told her yesterday. I was like, "Yeah, Harry Belafonte died." She's like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It was definitely, he was definitely a leader. It was a lot of people that looked up to him, and his involvement in the civil rights movement was, every time Dr. King, Malcolm X, anybody that spoke up and had anything to do that would help our people,
right."
he
Well,
would
he and King were friends.
count. Huh?
He and King were friends. That made
Yes,
a lot of a
absolutely.
difference. Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
yeah.
So,
So R.I.P.
yeah, so shout out to his family. And he's earned his rest at 96 years old. All of the lives and the hearts that he have touched throughout his career will all be praying for him and his family, to
Yeah,
be at
he's one
peace.
of those people that we all want to, when we get to the end of our lives, to look back and go, you know what? I had a good life.
Yeah.
You know, he is one of those people that can look back and say, I had a good life, a long life, and I made a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all want that, don't we?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
all
do.
want that.
That's why we do what we do, because we try to leave little markers in time that people can go look at and say, "Oh, I remember that," or "I don't remember that, but this
Right,
was good. He left this for here." Because whatever we do on the web will always be here.
right. It lives forever. And
Yeah,
that's funny because back then there was no web, and so you had to be on TV or in the movies in order, or I guess in radio, but
radio,
um,
right?
for something to stick around and last forever. And um, back then, everything was recorded on film or tape, and film and tapes both degrade over time.
Right.
I whipped out an old reel to reel tape from when I was on the air back in the '90s, and it just it just fell apart as it was playing. It was just the stuff was coming off on the heads, and it was just they
Yeah.
just don't last forever. But
But
internet,
and then they don't store them properly either. That's another thing
right?
too.
That's true. But the
Yeah.
internet, these are bits of data. They don't degrade.
Yeah.
They may get deleted, but you know, big company like
Absolutely.
YouTube or whatever, it's going to be
It'll
around
be there.
a long time. Yeah.
It'll be
So
there.
we can all make an impact. That's not my point. Is that
Yeah.
we can all make an impact and have something little bits and pieces, breadcrumbs or whatever, left behind that
Of
people
our
can remember us
legacy.
by. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So speaking of bits and pieces being left in time, let's talk about President Biden. The current president came out and announced that he will be running
Yeah.
in the next presidential
Oh,
election.
Joe. Oh, Joe Biden. Yeah, but
Yeah, a
not like
lot of
everybody wants him to.
well, I mean, they said the same thing about him when he ran the first time.
True.
All of the objections and all of the problems when they talk about him as president are still there. So he obviously was the strong enough candidate as vice president at one time to run and even defeat Trump. So they're saying, and this is what when I say they, this is what the polls and people that are in the party that would like to try and throw their hat in the race. Some of the comments are, um, there's nobody of significance that will be able to beat him in the primary to run for president, but from the party. So there are some other people who have declared that they're going to run, but are they strong enough to be able to beat him in the primary or the election process in order to be able to run? So they got the same thing on the Republican side. There's a lot of people, Santos and some other folks that have thrown their hat in the arena, but can they win their party's, choice through the
Nomination. See,
process?
I
Yeah.
tend to think that the party itself decides who it's going to be, at least in terms of the one who's in off the party that's in office in the White House at the time. So if he's the head of the party, he's the leader of the Democratic Party.
Right.
But so if he decides he wants to run again, he's going to run again. But I think that the party tells, like whoever the head of the DNC is now, they'll tell whoever else is thinking about it. Look, I mean, you cool and all that, but it's not your
Right.
time. So sit
Right.
down and shut up.
So let me ask you a question. How do
Well,
you feel about since he's announced? So obviously Kamala is going to be his running mate. I would think she would continue to be the vice president.
she is.
But what do you think about after he wins again? Now, I'm being prophetically speaking here. After he wins again and he sits another 4 years, do you think that Kamala would be a good candidate to step up to run for the party at that time?
Well, it depends on whether or not he lets her have a little bit more of the spotlight and kind of pushes her forward a little bit to be his successor. Um, he may not, if he were to decide not to run now, this is what the general consensus seems to be when they do all the polls, that she's not strong enough if he were to decide not to run, that
Hmm.
she would probably lose. Not necessarily because she's not, it wouldn't make a great president, but America may still not be ready for a
Absolutely.
female president just yet. In another
Absolutely.
20 years, maybe in another 4 years. I don't know. But there are a lot of women who don't want a woman president, which is interesting, too. You would think with the whole Me Too movement and all that, they'd be like, girl power. But no. And listen, now, if she were a white woman,
Still
it
wouldn't
might
have a
be different.
chance. No, still wouldn't have a chance. And to support what you just said, America's not ready for it. Right now, in the Supreme Court, they are deciding whether to allow women to have the choice to whether they should take this pill or not take this pill. And I have made comments and statements that grown women have rights too. Okay, if they
Yeah.
choose to have a baby or not have a baby, that's a woman's choice. So for government, period, to still try to decide what a woman has the right to be able to do or not be able to do, that is a very strong indicator that she can't run for a high office and get the support of either the Republican or the Democratic Party, because the Democrats are not pushing back as hard as they should be on some of those same subjects. So I don't think the government or the public is ready for a female president at all. I just
Well,
think that they got problems.
they might start soon, and when the election kind of gets going, all the campaigning gets started. I think they might actually push a lot harder than you think, because that's one of the defining issues that's going to separate them from the Republicans, and especially they know that women are really for this. A lot of women are for this whole pro-choice thing, so they're going to try to get some of the Republicans women away from the Republican Party and get them to vote Democrat on that very particular subject, which would
Hmm.
be smart. If they don't do it, they're stupid, and I don't think they're stupid.
So right now, this day, what we're looking at, what do you think would be an outcome of a presidential election on this day? Would it be a Republican or will it be a Democrat?
Well, um, Dr.
Look,
Richie is
wait a
always
minute. Hold on. Do me a very big favor, please, because you're freezing up again. Would you restart that browser for me? And while he's doing that, we're gonna give him an opportunity to restart that browser, because that is we had this problem in the green room beforehand, and okay, he is back. That was fast. Okay. All right, you
yeah,
there?
yes,
Okay,
indeed.
now, because you were driving me crazy with
Which is weird. I've got the
yeah, yeah,
fastest
yeah,
internet. I've got the
yeah, yeah.
fastest internet you can
And
buy.
it was, and look, and it was acting fast too.
Yeah, I've got the
Yeah,
fastest internet you can buy. For some reason, it's been tripping today. But anyway,
yeah.
um, Dr. Richie's always saying that, according to the polls, that if President, if Joe Biden runs against Trump, that he will beat Trump
Mm,
if Trump's the candidate.
hmm.
But according to the polls, that's the only one that Biden can beat,
Okay.
which is ironic, right?
Yeah.
Like DeSantis, if DeSantis would have run, he'd beat Biden.
Um. Now, my opinion on DeSantis, I don't think he can get the nomination of the party.
Probably not. Not if Trump wants it. But you never know though. You
But
never
Trump,
know.
Trump has gotten too many issues in the criminal arena. Speaking of which, this leads right into this. Your state, Atlanta, Georgia, or Georgia, have sent a very loud and clear message that they're going to be bringing charges in the very near future. So they've informed their Department of Security, like New York had to do, that we want this rascal to show up and and be in court, do the perp walk, as Lee like to say. you
Uh,
know, so they have the state's attorney have sent a message. Look, we need to get ready for this.
well, here it's a district attorney.
District attorney,
That's
go ahead.
yeah, district attorney. Her name is Fonnie Willis, and she just informed if you're not aware of what's been going on, they're gonna bring charges against Trump for trying to meddle in the elections in a particular county or I guess it's in the state
The state,
um,
yeah.
for Georgia, and she's asked the police to give her protection because she feels like there's going to be somebody trying to inflict harm upon her,
Exactly.
and she's probably not wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And not only that,
No.
it's coordination of all of the security team, the Secret Service, the court security, the public security. All of these coordinations have to be done in order to be able to get a vice president into court. Now, New York was an example how successful it can be. So I'm assuming that Georgia will be able to duplicate that process without any problem at all, and then protect the district attorney as they need to.
Can you imagine what it would be like being a district attorney? Um, all the people that you have to prosecute, and there are, I'm not necessarily talking about the little thugs, but like if you're in Chicago, you're prosecuting a mobster, let's say. Can you imagine that you're probably in fear of your life all the time?
Yeah. And they've had their problem. Just
I can
like
see
New
that.
York announced that, look, we've brought down gangsters on tax evasion before. So we're used to, accountants coming up missing by the time they're supposed to go to court and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Because when you are a person that the only way they can get you is not by all the murders you committed, but all the money you didn't file taxes on, that's something to think about. So New York said, we've been down this road before. We're prepared to deal with, and I got to say that I like the judge in New York.
Which judge?
The judge in New York, when he said, they were asking him to give him a gag order, give Trump a gag order, and he just like, look, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
concerned about threats or anything that he can say. So he was so cool about it that it was like, no, we're not going to do that, and we just going to let this rascal do what he do, which is put a noose around his neck and violate the people that are bringing charges against him by causing people to want to go out and do harm towards them. The prosecutor, the judge, they call out the judge's family. I mean, Trump is just stupid on so many levels for doing stuff
He
like
just
that.
no, not stupid. He just got a big mouth and don't know how to control it.
Yeah,
And you
don't they
listen,
call that stupid?
you've known people with a big mouth before, haven't you? They
Yeah,
might not necessarily be stupid. They
yeah,
just don't know how to shut up.
yeah. But I like how cool the judge was in New York. He was like, I'm not worried about him. Let him shoot his shot.
I know a lot of women like that. Don't know when
Yeah,
to shut up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Just saying.
Now, yeah, so that's interesting that we see progress being made in Georgia. So that's going to be the second felonies to fall on Trump while
Now,
he's
here's the
allegedly
question.
running for president. Go ahead.
Here's the question. So let's just hypothetically say, what if he gets elected?
Hmm.
He's president, and these charges are still pending, and then they find him guilty, but he's a sitting president. Does he, can he pardon himself? Does he get off? Do the charges go away until he's out of the office again?
Well, I don't know if you remember history. When he was president, the state of New York wanted to continue to go after him for the tax charges that they got him on now.
Uh-huh.
But because he was sitting president, they had to put everything on hold.
Right.
But I'm thinking at some point in time, okay, and just follow me here. I'm thinking at some point in time, because he is still on bond, that he will not actually be able to successfully run and be elected because he's still on bond.
But does one have to do with the other? And literally, I don't know that. I wonder, and it'll be some interesting real drama to see play out, because if he is found guilty, uh, either here in Georgia or in New York, it'll be real interesting to see if he can still be elected, and and then too, if he doesn't have any jail time, because they're probably not going to send him to jail in either case.
Well,
Does it
let's look.
matter?
Let's dissect this being on bond part of it.
Uh-huh.
Now, the last time that I was on bond, okay, I'm just using myself as an example.
Okay.
The last time I was on bond, I had to obey the orders of the court.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, if the judge says I'm not allowed to leave a jurisdiction, then I'm not allowed to leave a jurisdiction because I'm on bond.
That's if a judge says that.
If a judge says that,
Yeah. Now,
absolutely. So being on bond, the court has authority over you that they can exercise.
right, but he's not a resident of Georgia or New York. So they
But
likely
he
won't do that.
does has a residency in New York. They could have told him that you can't go back to Florida. Because
But
they,
but I but maybe they could have, but since his primary residence is in Florida, uh, my guess is that they weren't going to do that. But anyway, so
so they have
it'll be
authority
interesting
to
to
do
see.
whatever they want to do.
Yeah, well, but then
Yeah,
there's always an appeals process, and a judge can say whatever he wants or do whatever he wants, but he also doesn't want to do something and then have his shit overturned either. You
that's
know what I
true.
mean?
But if he's, right now he's a former president, he's just an average citizen. He's no different than me and you. So if the court decides, okay, since you're on bond in New York, and these charges have, now arrived in Georgia, we might not want to be as lenient in Georgia as they were in New York. So I mean, it's up to the court,
Yeah.
to decide how they want to proceed with this. And technically speaking, I have no idea if they're going to be able to nominate him to be able to be the president for the party or run from the party because he is on bond.
See, I
His
don't think that.
record his record is going to have an effect on the process.
I don't think that's part of the prerequisites that you can't have a record.
Yeah, well, you can't be a convicted felon and run for some offices in most governmental offices
You know what? That'd be
and the
something to look
president.
up. Hold on.
Yeah, no, like we've had in the city of Chicago, we've had plenty aldermen that have been convicted, found of felonies, gone to jail, and are not allowed to hold public office anymore. Okay. So, it's in most places, not all places, but in most places, if you are a felon or on bond for a felony, you're not allowed to hold office
There's nothing in the. I just looked it up.
in the
According
Constitution.
to CBS News, there's nothing in the Constitution that prevents someone who has been charged or convicted from serving in office as president.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Hey, but you know what? If you think about it, right, it's the will of the people,
Well,
right?
yeah,
If the
yeah.
people want to elect, they want a convicted felon to be their president. Who's the Constitution to say, okay, well, you can't have him because we said so, because the
Well,
founding fathers said so. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the whole job is to enforce the Constitution, right? To obey the Constitution. Well, he's far from that, but yeah, that's it. So I know you had a couple of things you wanted to bring out today. What you got on your mind?
Yeah, I had a couple things. First and foremost, I I had to go to the radio station. I work at a local radio station here, and I had to go in. And I don't go in very often. I do most of my work from home, and I had to go in just to log into the station's computer. They're doing some sort of security protocol or whatever. Blah blah. Anyway, I had to drive all the way downtown just to log in and then leave. And I was in my mind, I'm just bitching and complaining, like, come on, blah 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 blah. And then I realized, what good is complaining going to do? And I thought about it, right? All the things that there's probably 5 or 6 things that I was complaining about in my head as I was just driving to work. And I thought about it like, man, okay, complaining doesn't do any good. Okay, this is what we know, right? Complaining just doesn't do any good. Nobody want to hear it anyway, right? But doesn't the squeaky wheel get the grease?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? Does complaining work or does it not work?
So are you complaining to the powers to be that can do something
I
about it?
did, of course, when I got to work, and I was like, I promised myself that I wouldn't, but I said something to the boss, and I felt so bad about it afterwards. I'm like, I said I wasn't
Well,
going to
it's too
complain. I
late.
said I wasn't
It's
going to
too
complain.
late. It's too late at that point in
I
time.
already complained. I already complained, and it wasn't nothing that could be done afterwards because I was
Uh-huh.
already there.
Right. Right,
Um,
right. So it discomforted you to go in there, and the person who caused the discomfort probably didn't care one way or the other, but they might rethink the procedure going forward, like,
what
okay,
you would
we might
think,
yeah,
you would
we might
think,
yeah, we might be able to do something different when
but
we
guess
do
what?
this.
It was a corporate thing. So locally, there was no control at all. And so
Mm,
my complaining did no good and didn't make me feel better. And I would have been much better off if I just hadn't had those thoughts in my head in the first place. It's the devil that gets in there and says, you shouldn't have to go down there. This is some BS. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And I just thought about
instead of being thankful you got a job that they called you to come down there.
exactly,
Hello,
exactly.
yeah,
But you know, which led me to my next thought.
okay.
Sometimes as you get older, you you wonder what you were like when you were young. We forget when you get old, you forget that you were ever young. You know, um, all the mistakes that you made, and your attitude was different, and now your passion was a lot different. You had a lot more passion about everything, and uh, when I was young, I complained a lot, and I think about all the complaining I did. I was like, it's almost embarrassing to me. But there were so many things that I I wish I could have. I wish I could know the younger me, but somehow
Hmm.
I think the younger me might have been. I might have thought, oh, he's a know-it-all. I might think he's a little bit of an asshole. I might think that he's arrogant, or at least appears to be arrogant, because sometimes arrogance is a cover for insecurity.
Hmm.
Um, but somehow I'm missing. Sometimes I miss the fun attitude that I used to have. How I didn't take. Um, I didn't worry as much. I kind of looked. I had my whole life ahead of me. I looked at the world like, oh man, I got my whole life ahead of me, and I'm gonna live forever. Nothing's ever gonna happen to me. But there's a lot of TV shows where you get to go back in your younger self in movies, like that movie Big, with Tom Hanks. He gets to go back and be a kid again. All that. But it was kind of rough when you were young.
Hmm.
If you think about it, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have the sense that you had. This all stems from a conversation that I had the other day with a friend of mine about just that. As a matter of fact, it was yesterday. I was talking with Moni Love. Remember the rapper Moni Love? Moni in the middle. In the middle, she works at our radio station, and
Hmm.
she was telling me about the situation that she's in and how she's so much more calm about it.
Right.
She doesn't react like she used to. I said, yeah, because you've got that experience to draw upon, to where you don't flip out over every little thing that happens, because
Right.
oh, it's cool. I'm gonna be cool. I can
Yeah.
handle it.
Yeah.
You know.
So let me ask you a question.
Uh huh.
Um, the person you are today,
Uh huh.
what's the one thing that you would say to your younger self if you had that opportunity?
Okay, I'll tell you that as soon as my nose is starting to run. So I'm gonna put the camera on pause for a second.
Okay, so he just took a pause for the cause, and the cause is to clear his nostrils. So once his nostrils are cleared, and he's meditating on that thought process,
Okay, sorry.
So now he's back.
It was
Okay.
literally running down my nose. I was like, oh, I got to
Okay,
take care
yeah,
of this.
well, that's probably ideal for an older you to talk to a runny nose you,
Okay, so you said what would I have what
what
would I
would
have
be the
changed?
one thing that you would say to a younger you if you had that opportunity? The one
L-
thing.
lose weight. Have a fantastic body. You know
That's the
why?
one thing.
You know why? Because being a chubby kid, um, always and being teased in school. Now, young people nowadays, they're a lot of them are way bigger than I was, and
Hmm.
it's considered normal now. But back then, you had just a little bit of a gut, or a little bit of a double chin, or whatever. Just a little bit of a round face. You were a fatty. That was my middle name, Fatty.
Hmm.
Um, but that carried me. That stayed with me my entire life. And if I just lost, I did lose it at one time when I was a junior in high school. And then, of course, I love to eat. Oh, Ron, I love to eat. Oh man, I just eat everything that can fit into my mouth, and just being gluttonous. Oh, but I know that attractive people have an easier time in life, and people who keep themselves in shape and just looking good has a positive effect on your life. It makes life so much easier. Um, Stacey Abrams. This is gonna sound terrible. It's gonna sound terrible. And when I say it, everybody looks at me like, "Oh, can't believe you just said that." But I love Stacey Abrams. But she ain't never gonna be governor of Georgia. She ain't never gonna be president or whatever. Because it's like, how can you call yourself a powerful person, powerful woman, and you can't even get control over the one thing in your life that has haunted you your whole life? That weight. And that's how I feel about myself.
Whole can of peas.
Say what?
I said it opens up a whole new can of peas right there.
But for my
Yeah,
younger self,
yeah.
it's been haunting me my entire life. So I'm always on a diet, always trying to lose my little gut. I mean, it's a lot smaller now. It's pretty small now, but I'm always working and I'm always
That's the
looking.
advice you would give.
That's the one, and my life would change completely.
Absolutely. Got it. Well, look, it's time to get out of here.
That
And
sounds so shallow, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. But I want to,
Sorry.
that's okay. I want to thank my brother in broadcasting for coming and hanging out with us today.
Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure sharing some airtime with you. I tell you, um, I always enjoy, when I'm on the air with somebody that I know knows what to do when they get a microphone in front of them. So, look, let me say this. I want to encourage anybody who wants to have a show right here on Street News Now to reach out to streetnewsnow.com, fill out the necessary paperwork, and someone from our staff will get in contact with you. We have a lot of hours of the day available to fill airtime. So all you have to do is go over. Someone will get in contact with you and help you figure out what you need to do to get your show right here on Street News Now. Also, if you just want to be a reporter, somebody who's just covering news all across the country. When you're traveling, you see something, you got a cell phone, you want to have a place to broadcast. Street News Now is a place will help you get that going. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, send it around, send it to your people, to your friends. Say, hey, look, Buck Wild's still alive. He's on the air today. We got a chance to see him. He was on not Clear Channel, but Sirius One last week. Now this week he back on Street News Now. So he's still around and he gonna surprise y'all and pop up whenever he feel like it. So don't be afraid now because he's here. I want to thank you all for joining me right here on the Street News Now Noon Report. Buck, you have any parting words you want to say for the people before we get out of here?
Give God His praise and thank Him for all your blessings. I say that all the time, but it's true. He
Mm-hmm.
deserves it.
Absolutely. And that being said, peace and love. See y'all next week.